a lot of people have this like fear of like looking cringe or like the fear of being seen trying, and like being effortful is not something to be ashamed of. Like everybody has to hustle or like to work to get something. I would hope, right?
Welcome back to Barely Scraping By. I'm in a much better mindset. I did record an episode like last weekend and I was in a funk, Maureen. I was in a funk. I was recording, not feeling well.
Oh no, you were funky?
I was funky. I'm out of the funk, everyone. So if you listen to those episodes, know that I am feeling better. I feel like myself again. I have my sparkle back. But anyways, our guest today is very interesting and exciting. My producer, Nicole, who helps me on the podcast, who I give shout outs to literally all the time and will never not shout out because she is the best and incredible and just an amazing person. Maureen is friends with Nicole, and I was like, Nicole, who should we get on the podcast? We were trying to figure it out. Like I wanted to rack my brain and make sure I have guests that, speak and have a good message and people would want to listen to and, are doing things in the industry that are exciting and, moving the needle, as they say. And Nicole's like, my buddy Maureen. So this is the first time I've met Maureen is right now in my apartment on this podcast. So this is exciting for the both of us.
Live and direct. This is exciting.
Live and direct. But Maureen, tell me the lowdown. Tell me what's going on, what you're working on, what brought you to LA and brought you to my apartment in Santa Monica for this Barely Scraping By episode.
So many great questions. So hi Claire.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks for having me. What brought me to LA? Lots of things. Most directly, like the grad program that I'm doing right now. So right now I'm in USC's Peter Stark producing program.
Wow, incredible.
So thank you. And so that's kind of what brought me here physically. But the first time I came to LA was about not first time, like as a grown person, industry person, was like 3 summers ago when I was interning for Disney. Under their, they have a program called the Disney UNCF Corporate Scholars Program. And so I came out as an intern doing drama development at Disney's 20th Television. So that's what first brought me out here. And then I got that bug. I was like, okay, I'm a writer. I want to be where the center of things are. And so where does one go to do that? Here. So yeah, I've been in LA full time for less than a month and some change now. So this is very, very fresh.
Wow, good for you. Nicole did tell me that you have been an intern around the block and have touched probably every company in the industry. So
I have been around the way.
Around the block. Tell me a little bit about that and how did you catch the bug and what internships were you doing before you landed, the grad program and working here?
Yeah. So my first entertainment internship was at Game Show Network.
Oh, period.
Which is exactly what it sounds like if you're not familiar with it. They make game shows. And so I first got that internship through, there's an organization called the T. Howard Foundation, of which I'm an alum. And I'll always shout out T. Howard. They've definitely been in my corner since I started. They actually helped me get the full-time job that I got after graduating. And so they've helped place me with Game Show Network, where I was a development intern. But game show development is very different from scripted development. But I was like, okay, I know I want to do development. Let's start somewhere. Let's see where it goes. And so that was my first internship. The second one was at The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in production, where I met lovely Nicole.
Amazing, yes.
Absolutely love that one. And then after that, it was the drama development at Disney that I mentioned. NBC Universal under Peacock in audience retention marketing, CRM, very spreadsheetsy. And then UTA. In the mailroom in New York. And prior to that, I was doing book publishing internship in DC. It's called Smithsonian Books under the Smithsonian Museums. So all of that and some change led me to where I'm at now, which is getting my full-time job at BET under Paramount in brand creative marketing.
Wow. So incredible. When I was in college, I need to know how you did it. Because when I was in college, I remember applying for these internships and I was throwing my resumes into these systems and I'm like, this is landing. It feels like it's being flushed down a toilet and no one's looking at it. And currently right now with the current climate, people are throwing their resumes and it feels like they're throwing it into the abyss. How did you, when you first started, trying to find your place and where you were looking, what interests you, how did you advocate for yourself and find positions that you felt were going to be a good fit, but also pushed you forward into the career that you now have? Yeah,
that's a great question. I feel like when I was starting out, I was still trying to find my footing and where I best fit in the industry. I happened to take a development elective in undergrad at NYU. I wasn't studying film at all. I was studying media and communication, but I ended up tacking on a producing and entertainment business minor after taking this elective because I was like, oh, this is kind of my bag. This is my jam. But taking that kind of allowed me to figure out, okay, I know that I want to intern in this industry. I want to learn more and figure out where I can best get my footing. And so having the backing of fellowships like T. Howard that I mentioned and attending conferences. There's one called IRTS, which stands for like International Radio and Television Society. I wasn't a fellow of that, but they have an annual like workshop that they have where it's like panels and speakers. Those are really great at like empowering me to know like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is how I want to best position myself. And then having that like cosign helps as well. So I'm a very big proponent of like fellowships and like programs that are all geared towards helping like young people kind of get their start. Another one I was affiliated with is Girl Wonder, which is dedicated towards young women of color. So yeah, I think that helped me get that first internship. But I think I always tell people like when you're on campus, when you're a student, it's like people sleep on the other types of experience you can get that are not just internship or like, you know, like that on-campus job. Like NYU has a podcast with their School of Public Health. So I was helping produce that and edit that. And so like, I'm a producer. I'm putting that on my resume because I am. Or like I had—
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Come on. I know you are.
There you go. And I had friends who were selling, like I had a friend who was selling Depop and she was like, well, that doesn't really count. I'm like, no, you are running a business. You are reselling merchandise. You are communicating with people. You are doing all these things. So like people sleep on the experience that they have outside of like the traditional sense and even clubs. So I was doing the communications club and the journalism, like writing for the school paper. And so all those things I feel like helped me at least build my skills when I didn't have much. And so having the backing of those organizations to like help me get my foot in the first one kind of helped launch me. And so once you get one, I feel like it helps build that momentum to get more. And so, yeah, then I just kept climbing and kind of refining what I wanted out of like the experiences. And I think internships are really good for like learning what you want and what you don't want. Like let's say I did an internship like at Peacock, which the team was great, loved it. Loved the people that I worked with. But I was like, oh, I'm realizing I'm not very much of that data spreadsheets kind of marketing. That's not really my bag. Okay, I know that, okay, I can reshift my focus a little bit to what makes more sense for me.
What were the things that you gleaned from these internships that you now feel that you took into your full-time job? And you're like, oh, I snagged that from this and I snagged it from this. Because you weren't working at, at these small companies. You were working at some of the biggest in the industry. So how did you take those skills and apply it to your current position?
Yeah. And I think I was like a COVID college kid, right? So I'm class of 23. And so like we had that like period of time where we were in school and then we left and then we came back after like a good chunk of time during the pandemic and being remote and coming back. So something I had to shift from like Game Show Network, that was fully remote. And then so coming to Colbert, that was my first fully in-person internship. And so that was like an interesting adjustment in terms of like, I remember learning, I think this is something I learned from a lot of my internships, is that entertainment is such a social industry. And like, yes, you want to be the hardest working person in the room, but you also can't work to the point where you're not allowing yourself to be a person, if that makes sense. So like work hard, but also make sure you're socializing and making yourself known and like meeting people and like being a part of things. And I remember having like a feedback meeting with one of my superiors at Colbert, and they're like, "You're so great, but you have this quiet confidence about you." And I'm like, "I'm not that quiet of a person, but I think because I was so new in that space, and you're still trying to get your footing and everything, I wasn't as gregarious, one could say, or as myself in terms of like verbally expressing that. And so I think just building that creative confidence in myself and also just like what I bring to the team and what I have to say was something that I developed over time. I think also I learned about like, I've always been told by like my parents, my family, it's always like take initiative, do what someone would like for you to do, but isn't saying, or like when you see a need, like address that. And so when I was at Disney, they were doing a lot of adaptations from books, and they were talking about we should get more summer beach reads adaptations, or even Black summer beach reads specifically. And I was like, "Ooh, I love books. I'm a reader." So they were talking about it, but there wasn't like a lot of like, it was like, it would be good to have. And so I went out of my way to compile a list of different like beach reads that I think would be great for adaptation. And like that really like resonated with a lot of people on the team. They were like, the fact that you went out of your way to do this, like that shows that you're committed to learning and you want to be here. And so just like seeing where you can best show your value and be, like your skills can be, I guess, the best service to your team and the environment you're in is something I think is super important.
Something that I'm struggling with now is trying to show my value and not holding back, and like trying to find those things to like, okay, where am I valuable? What am I good at? What do I know? Because when you're sitting there and no one's really telling you, and you're really not getting a lot of people to tell you, you're good at this and you're bad at this and da-da-da-da-da-da. So how did you find like what you are good at, and then knowing that's what you can bring to the table and like have that flourish and bring you forward?
That's a really good question. And it's hard because sometimes the environment that you work in isn't always like a smooth environment to do that. And sometimes it feels like more challenging. Some workplaces or environments are more, you can tell it's more open to you being like, hey, I want to learn more. I want to do this more. And sometimes it's not as encouraged. So I understand that sometimes that can be like a hang up that people have. In terms of finding out what you're good at, I think like I've heard people say that like it's good to ask your loved ones. It could be kind of awkward to ask your loved ones and your friends and your family or whatever. But like, what would you say I'm good at? Like, actually doing a little poll of the people in your community is great to hear, like, relayed back to you. Because sometimes we miss out on our like best strengths and our best skill sets. So it's good to ask the people who actually see you and know you, what am I good at? And then also sitting with yourself and seeing, okay, what things like ignite you or make you excited? Because I feel like you're more inclined to do something with like more fervor or, intensity or something if you care about it. So I think even if you're not the best at it, because you're so interested in it and you're passionate about, you're going to be like intentional about learning more about it, pursuing it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, because I think it's like a lot of my thoughts in this industry sometimes are just riddled with self-doubt and just like, I don't know, or people are telling me this, but I'm not sure. So it's kind of like separating that and just kind of honing in on what makes you feel good and what is like fueling your fire to push you forward, because it's so easy to have that voice kind of overpower the things that you think you're good at. And I've been sitting there this week, when I said I'm out of the funk, thank God. But when I was in the funk, I'm like, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at that, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at this. And that confirmation bias where you're like, you think you're bad at something and then you confirm and you da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But the only thing that's going to keep pushing you forward is advocacy for yourself, because no one's going to come to your door. Literally. No one's knocking you down. No one, came to you and you're like, okay, let's get an internship here. Let's get a job here. Let's do this. Like, you had to put yourself in these rooms and push for yourself and know you're good at something and not doubt yourself. But speaking of that, I want to get more into what you're doing now and doing the, grad school while also having a full-time job, juggling all that, taking your, past and applying it to the present. Like, how is that going? How are you doing? And you mentioned like, I need to stay a person. Like, I still need to be a person. So like balancing all that and still feeling a sense of self and identity. Like, I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're trying, right? I think right now where you're catching me, where you're finding me, I'm 3 weeks going into week 4 of school and balancing.
Just started?
Yes.
Oh, like, you're fresh
off the press. This
is
like,
my God. Oh, so you're just trying to figure out the flow.
The balance, the flow. Right.
Oh, got it. Oh, so you're still like, ooh.
Yeah. So I can't say I'm an expert by any means. We're still, finding that flow, seeing where we best fit. Because it's like my job is remote. So East Coast hours. My team is in New York. So it's like East Coast hours. So I'm waking up at 7, sometimes 6. And then most of my classes I'm ending at 10 p.m. in the evening. So it's like 7 to 10 p.m. and some days 2 to 5 and then 7 to 10 p.m. So it's a long day. And so I've been trying to like balance, okay, like how do I spend my mornings in terms of like, okay, getting work done for work and then also schoolwork, but also like getting ready in time for class. And then kind of that second half of the day is kind of dedicated to being, with my peers. So I think I'm trying to give myself grace and also try to block out times for things like whether it's like, okay, maybe try to go to the gym a little bit, try to take walks, try to find, moments that like aren't, go, if that makes sense.
Before we continue on with that, I forgot our little segment. And how could I forget the baddie boot? So in this baddie little boot moment, I put some questions in the shoe.
Okay.
So you're going to pull out a question, read it out loud, and then answer it.
Okay, hopefully it's not trouble.
Oh, some of them were a little trouble. I was feeling a little something when I was writing them up. So read it out loud.
Oh, okay. What's the most toxic work environment you've stayed in and why didn't you leave?
Oh. Ooh.
I have to think about this because honestly, I haven't had like toxic is a strong word, right? And I've spoken to people who have had toxic work experiences. If I'm racking through my experiences, toxic, I wouldn't say anything was toxic. That sounds like a cop-out, I promise. I haven't
that's your experience.
Like, I'm fortunate to have not had toxic experiences. Maybe there were like positions that I wasn't as excited about, like in terms of being an intern or like having superiors that were a little bit like stern. But I wouldn't say toxic because like other elements of like whether it's the peers or the colleagues and the social life aspect of the job balance things out. So at this point in time, I can't say that I truly have worked in a toxic work environment.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And especially because you've already mentioned all the work you've done and where you're working now. That is incredible because you hear these horror stories and the fact that you've kind of like skirted by that and live in a positivity space is like, is great. And it's obviously sometimes not easy to find. So good for you.
Yeah. That doesn't mean everything has been sunshine and roses, but I don't think I would,
Life is beautiful. Yes. Everything is great. No
Life
problems.
Life is worth living. Yes.
I love that. Well, now it's like jumping back on track. I do want to hear more about, your current job and then your desire to go to grad school because I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, so I've been at BET under Paramount for like 2 years, over 2 years now, 2 years and some change. And I've been working in the brand creative team, brand creative marketing, which is like the team that does trailers, promos, like marketing advertisements for new shows, award shows, both on BET and VH1. So I'm a PA, which is like production associate / project management. So we're helping out with like the admin of like pulling footage and clips, and if like our spots, as we call this, trailers, promos, when they're ready to be delivered to social or anything else, I send out like a distro email to the team to make sure like everybody has what's been delivered, so the social team can make sure that goes out. It's a pretty like admin entry level type of situation. I've been working this job since I finished undergrad. Yeah, the one like I guess like the highlight so far of my experience has been last year, like our tentpole award show is the BET Awards, and for that campaign, they're kind of like best idea wins. Anybody can pitch, even junior staff, even if you're not a writer producer, for example. And so I had a chance to pitch, and so I pitched my concept, standing on culture, and that kind of unanimously ended up getting picked. So I got to write and produce the campaign for the BET Awards in 2024, which was like honestly such a dope experience. To get to write and see, I'm a writer first, and so getting to see those words come to life and like kind of get built out into a full campaign. I got to go to like Times Square last year and kind of see all the billboards and see like my writing up there. I was like, this is so cool. So that was like really like an affirming moment to like get to be like, oh, I'm a junior staff member, but like, oh, I just got here, but y'all gonna hear me. And to see that people were resonating with that was really cool. I'm very honored to have had, somewhat of an impact and been a part of that campaign.
Holy cow. That is incredible. Like, why do I want to cry? Like, I feel this like intense like pride. Like that's because it's like people back to the age thing. Like people at our age are not given, a platform. And that's why I do this podcast. Like that's what I try to do. Like that's the whole point. Like just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that takes away from like what you have to offer. And there you were doing something so amazing, and you were like first job out of college. Well, first job, full time, and you're doing the damn thing. Holy cow. Did this bring you like fire that kind of like brought you forward and like continue, like made you want to continue working?
Yeah, I think like everything happens for a reason. And I think that like when I was graduating into the strike, I was like, what do I do now? Because like I had, I guess wrongfully thought, okay, I've done all these internships. Hopefully that will ensure some kind of employment after graduating. Everything will be smooth. And so like, fortunately I did find the job that I have like about a month and some change after graduating, but that was after a series of things like that didn't go well. And I, when I got this job, it was like, it wasn't like the job that I had gotten right away. So, it took some time, right? And so when I found myself in this position, a position that I hadn't anticipated working in prior, I was like, okay, let's just see where this goes. And so to have that happen and for it to be also something that was like brought from my writing, like that's like my passion, that's what I love. I was like, oh, like your words can take you so many more places than you ever thought. So that was something that was like really, I guess, affirming. And so just like, put a little more battery in my back to be like, keep going, girl. Yeah.
And so what made you want to go to grad school? Like, I know a lot of people sit there and they question, like, is this the right time? I want to do this. And the application process is rigorous and hard. And you have to like get home after work and write about yourself and all the things that it takes to apply. Like, why did you want to do it? And do you find that it's like you're only 4 weeks in? So I guess we could listen to this, like, get the 4 weeks in. No,
I don't think I'm going to regret it. So far, I'm not regretting it at all. Why grad school? And it's something that I've talked about with a lot of friends. I was joking with some people and they were like, yeah, it feels like everybody's either going back to school or going to,
running a marathon,
running a marathon or getting engaged. Like it's so, and it's coming from like, I'm first gen Cameroonian American. And so culturally, like it's like grad school and education is like, it's the solution for everything. It's like, go to grad school, go get your degree and everything. So that was something that was really impressed upon me from a young age, but I actually was rebelling against that. So I was like, well, because just knowing entertainment, like in entertainment, it's not a requirement, right? You don't need to have a graduate degree in order to like be a creative, to work in the industry, to be, what you want to do in the industry. And so I was like, I don't need that. And so I think that like circumstance, like I think, graduating to the strike also influenced a lot of like what like my life, like my post-grad life was looking like. And I think that like in that kind of point in time, like, so while I'm still working the job, but I was working the job and I was simultaneously doing a lot of sketch comedy. I've been part of a team called Pencils of Color since 2022, so for over 3 years. And so we performed all over New York. And so that was another area where I was like getting to write more and getting to write and create and perform and like do that with in community with peers. We all met at NYU. So it's like a really great like creative community that we just continued after. So I was doing that and I was doing the work thing, but I felt like there was a lot more that I had to learn or grow in. I feel like as a writer, like, yes, I had done like a lot of theater. I grew up doing theater, and like that's how I like wrote my first.
Theater.
Come on now.
Yes. It
never leaves us. I like to say recovering theater kids, but you never recover. I have to make the distinction that there's two types of there's theater kids and then there's theater kids, and I'm the first kind. So let's make it clear on the table. I want to make sure the record understands that. But yeah, so I grew up doing theater and like writing and directing plays, and then carrying that into like sketch and improv and all that stuff. But I was like, there was a gap in my knowledge in terms of being able to actualize and bring to fruition the things that I was writing. And in terms of like, I had been like a PA in certain people's like, student projects. I've been on like, I'd even most recently helped like produce someone else's film. But like, I myself hadn't been in that like true like learning experience. And I was like, I have more to learn. And I also wanted to get closer to where the action was, as I like, my long term was like, okay, I want to be in TV writing, show running. And so like, I'm not close to that geographically. There are some writers' rooms in New York, and there are some things that are going on in that like space. But I think primarily in New York, it's more doc oriented. It's more like indie feature, still for the most part. So I was like, I want to get closer to where I can actually make the things that I want to have like, in my life, in my career, like happen. So I started applying, but I was still kind of in my like certainty versus like, let's go balls to the wall with the dream, right? Because I was like kind of applying to like MFA MBAs, kind of doing the dual degree in film producing and like business. And then I was even applying to like marketing degrees, journalism school. And so like and then I also applied to Peter Stark, and Peter Stark, which is at USC, that's like the only like straight up MFA that had no chaser, no MBA, nothing else attached to it. Cause I just felt really compelled to see, like, I was like, okay, this is like a shot in the dark. Let's just see what happens. Cause I was like, I know it's very selective, and I know that like, but let's just put it out there. And I think like I'm very big on like not self-sabotage or self-selecting, where people like, I know friends who would be like, oh, I want to try this, apply for this job, but like I'm not good enough, so I just won't do it. I full-heartedly like I'm advocate against, like taking yourself out of the equation, because you genuinely never know what will happen. And like if someone else wants to count you out, great, but don't count yourself out already, if that makes sense. And so yeah, applied, did interviews for a lot of different schools, and then got into a couple places. And then when I got in here, I was like, hold on. So I came for Admitted Students Weekend, and I was like, all right, okay, I think we're going to do it, guys. And getting my immigrant parents on board with it was another thing. But I think over time, having seen like the track record I've kind of built for myself, they were like, okay, like you're onto something. Because like, for example, my sister's in medicine, my brother's in finance. Mom's a nurse, my dad's an economist. So it's like they all have that like by the book kind of career where it's like there's A, B, C, D, and you know what steps you need to follow in order to reach where you want to go. Whereas with entertainment, it can really be A, Z, then D, then back to, left, right, north. It's not as linear, right? So yeah, I think that was like, okay, I think this is where I want to really invest in myself and, make it happen.
I am like so inspired by you. Truly. That is incredible. Incredible. Because I don't know. I find that, I don't know why I'm getting like, why am I getting emotional now? I'm just in a weird mood today. I'm feeling so pride. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I just hear, it's just refreshing to be around someone who, the hell, Claire, why am my eyes tearing up? What is happening to me? But it's just incredible. It's incredible because I don't know, sometimes I'm just around people and in spaces where there's not a lot of positivity and it's just lacking that human connection and those emotions and going for things that make you happy and joyful and just, doing things that bring laughter to your life. And like, you're doing this just because you love it and you're doing it because you want to do it. And it's just refreshing to be around that because I think we lose sight of it. And I was at lunch the other day, in the courtyard outside of work, and people were just talking about work. I was like, guys, again, like I've been negative. I'm not this positive person all the time. I'm like, guys, we're doing what we love. Like we get to do what we love. We're not working with the spreadsheets. We're not working with things that don't make us happy. We get to work with material that makes us joyful. Yeah. And I think we lose sight of it because it's so hard in this industry, and it's so hard to get a lick of attention or, a job that makes you excited or anything. It's just you have to fight for everything you have. And so it's just refreshing to hear you speak so positively and just get actually excited with what you're doing and like throw yourself into experiences that might be hard and difficult, but like you keep doing it again and again and again. I'm like feeling something and I don't know why. It's just exciting. I'm excited for you. And that's your future is just so bright. But I want to hear more about, because you bring up sketch comedy. I love sketch comedy. I love when people throw themselves into comedic spaces, especially in a time like this, like make people laugh, make people happy.
Yes.
Like, what is that like? What are you working on? What's going on in that space?
Yeah. So Pencils of Color, it's like very much so. It's a New York based team. So had to leave them behind a little bit, though I'm still like involved a little bit from a distance. But we're all about like, we're all black team. And it's like a lot of like political satire, cultural commentary, but like also just absurdity. Everything from Mary and Joseph's paternity test with Maury to Amish girls exploring New York. And so to see how we've been able to grow digitally is super exciting. And I think that like growing through sketch comedy has like made me so much of a better writer. Because I was just looking at like when we had our first like big shows in 2022, like what I wrote for the first kind of sketch that I wrote for that versus like what I've been writing this year for the team, I'm like, it's night and day. Like, I love that. Like, I think it's so important to have like a community of people that you not only like get along with, but also like humor is so like, it's nice to have people your humor is in alignment and taste is in alignment. And so we cultivated that space in the way that we're able to like give each other feedback and workshop with each other and like be like, okay, let's I have this idea, guys. What do we think? And to be able to contribute and be additive, I think is so wonderful. And so, yeah, to get to like play and like just be silly and like take it there has been such a joy. And so they're at Pencils of Color _ on Instagram and they're on TikTok. Love Pencils of Color. We'll always shout them out and love being a part of that collective. And I'm really excited to get more also involved in the comedy scene in LA now that I'm here as well. I'm kind of getting out into the LA comedy streets. I haven't done too much yet, so I'm excited to see what's in store here.
How do you keep up with the digital footprint of when you're a part of a comedy space and trying to push your content, trying to push that forward, and talking about audiences and getting people intrigued? Like, that's something that I'm learning through this podcast, like how to keep it consistent and how to keep doing it and post, and how do you keep up with that and like pushing your content forward? Yeah,
honestly, content is so challenging. Honestly, I'm like, it's hard because I feel like, and I'm curious your take on this too, because I feel like in the industry sometimes now it's like, the more you are in front of the world in terms of like socials and having that social presence, it's like it will bode what better for your career depending on whatever you're trying to do. Like a lot of comedians are trying to get noticed for that, or like even writers, like people who are trying to put themselves out there to ideally build careers. Like with Pencils of Color, like the good thing is like we have people on the team who are very social minded, so they love that stuff and they love posting and so they have that content calendar down. I know my strengths. And so like out delegating and assigning people to do different things is really helpful. But like, even for myself, like I launched something called She Reads the Trades on like TikTok, which is kind of like a platform that I started using to kind of like spread the word and like educate people on things that I didn't know or what I wish I knew starting the industry. So kind of like what's the agency? What is that like? Or what are the trades? Why should we read them? Or even like job positions that are like, this is the page program. What is that like? And how do we get our foot in the door? So I think like that is something that I've notably honestly struggled a little bit with consistency on, but due to, I give myself grace. I'm doing a lot right now, but I find it to be important to kind of like, at least find to carve out a little bit of time to like batch record. Batch recording, I think, is like the number one way to get around it. Cause it's like when you lose that stamina, you don't want to have to, okay, another day, let me plop myself down and actually get cute and like record a video. But yeah, I think it's just like, remembering why you're doing it for, because it really does warm my heart when I've had people reach out to me and tell me, oh, I applied because of you, or I got an interview because of you, or like, because you told me about this opportunity, I will check it out, or I didn't know this. And so I feel like making it less the accessibility of understanding what the industry is like and getting into it like more democratized and just available to the public is something that I'm passionate about, because I didn't know anything about this industry coming up. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from an immigrant family. I didn't, have any access. I didn't even know you could write for television genuinely until like I was much older. Like going into like college years, I was like, wait, this is something I could actually do as a career. But yes, I know it's important. I find it a little bit challenging to like remain consistency, because I'm like, I wish sometimes talent could speak for itself, and it doesn't have to be like you have to be in everybody's face all the time for it to like, it feels like, we're in that attention economy era where, but this girl I follow on TikTok, her name's Tepper, and she's so cool. And she talks about like industry stuff and like all that. And she was able to get her job as a showrunner's assistant through being, online and talking about industry. And I was like, girl, I'm trying to get like you. That's cool. Like to see that it actually is working for people. It's great to see. That just means I gotta, I guess, lock in a bit more on that front, but we'll get to it.
No, I literally couldn't do it. I was like, this is
Yeah.
It's just like hard for me because it's like people ask, one of my friends wants to get into that space and like post her blog, and she's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I just don't even look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, just throw it up there and close your eyes, because it'll go into the abyss and it'll eventually get off people's feed, and then it's just like then the new thing is just throw it out there, close your eyes, and you get used to it. And I get used to seeing my face.
Yes.
Like you're used to seeing your face and you just get used to like scrolling and seeing it. But at the beginning I was like, it was hard, and I didn't like it at the beginning. But now I'm like, it's just a picture. It's just a video.
And it's a part of you. And I think like I love these conversations I'm seeing more and more these days about like a lot of people have this like fear of like looking cringe, or like the fear of being seen trying, and like being effortful is not something to be ashamed of. Like everybody has to hustle or like to work to get something. I would hope, right? But yeah, like I think that like we have this fear of like being perceived or being seen, and like it's, you know, embarrassing to be trying or, you know, putting yourself out there. But like there should be no shame about that. It's really like you expressing yourself or expressing your dreams or what you're passionate about should never be anything that you like shy away from.
Ever. And it's like something that I think, they are going to judge me. And it's like, who are they? Who are
them?
And it's like always the like, people are going to get, who are these people?
They don't pay your bills. Come on now. Do you?
They don't know you.
Exactly.
But to end the episode, the guest before asked a question to you, and you didn't know the guest before.
Yes.
And you will ask a question to the next guest.
Okay.
So the previous guest said, when was a time you worked so hard and it didn't pay off?
Ooh.
Question for the crowd.
Okay, I guess one thing that comes to mind is there was a season when I was like, it's still a strike, and I'm in a job, but I'm also looking for another job, and I found myself applying a lot, and I would, you know, try to hit up my old connects, like whether it was old professors and whatnot, or like scour the different. I was on Holly List every day at 11 a.m. when the website would refresh.
Holly List.
Holly List was seeing me, right? And I was like, you know, I was on it, and so I would interview quite a bit, which is like, you know, I know even when things are tough, like that's, you know, something to be grateful for, to even get to interview. But I would get so far, and I thought I was moving to LA at least 2 or 3 times with the jobs that I was interviewing for, and like none of them worked out. And I was kind of in like a lower point where I was like, dang, like why am I doing all this and it's not working? And like, but I think that like it was definitely like a wake up call to kind of reshift my energy and figure out, okay, where I'm at this present moment. Okay, let me double down and continue to keep doing my sketch. Let me continue to work on like the book project that I'm working on, the novel that I'm working on. Let me continue to like refocus my energy on like the things that I can control. And even then I ended up applying to grad school as well. And so like just figuring out like, yeah, not seeing everything. My parents always say every setback is a set up for a comeback. And so even in that like low period, okay, yes, this doesn't feel great. I always tell people when things are happening, it feels awful. It doesn't feel great, but you know that on the other side of it, there's something that's waiting for you. I think, you know, so I think that, yes, I was working hard and I didn't get any of those jobs, but what it allowed me to do was kind of like, okay, sit with myself and like also like stop being so hard on myself and just like refocus my energy in a positive place. And so, yeah, here we are in LA. What the hell? Talking to Claire.
Talking to me. Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. And I loved that. What is the question you want to leave with the next guest?
Okay. I would want to ask the next person, what is your best way or favorite way that you're allow yourself to decompress, take a step back, and just, you know, get in touch with yourself?
I love that question. It's that's like a recentering question. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and taking time to talk with me and meeting each other for the first time and jumping right into it and being so forthcoming with your experiences and advice and just, you know, what you're doing and what you've been through and how you got here and how you can help the people who are listening. So truly, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Oh, of course. The time just flies, doesn't it?